following a big update in a shocking case of child sex abuse. This former nurse was caught by her husband having sex with her stepson. Alexis Van Yates made a shocking excuse when trying to explain herself.
Wait, what?
We're following a big update in a shocking case of child sex abuse. This former nurse was caught by her husband having sex with her stepson. Alexis Van Yates made a shocking excuse when trying to explain herself when her husband walked in on the incident last summer. She has now taken a plea deal. What that means for how long she'll be in prison. The police report that we have in this case, I will be honest with you, is not an easy read. It details a stepmom having sex with her 15-year-old stepson, then trying to make excuses when she's caught. And let me tell you, there is a lot that was included in this police report that I cannot say, and frankly, I don't want to say. But it is important that we rehash what police say happened the night this then registered nurse seduced a minor inside her home, her own stepson, before we get to the plea deal that she just took. Here's a picture of Alexis Van Yates. She was 34 years old when all of this went down last year inside her home in Ocala, Florida. She lived with her husband, who had a 15-year-old stepson who was staying at their house for the summer on vacation. He had stayed with them for roughly a month. Police say on one of the final nights that the boy was staying at the house, he was hanging out with his stepmom. They were watching a horror movie on the couch. Now, the two had just put the younger children in the home to bed. It was around 11 o'clock at night. Police say Van Yates and her stepson were also hitting a THC pen. The two apparently found the movie Terrifier 2 boring, according to the interview that the victim in this case gave police. And that's when this police report states that Alexis Van Yates started talking about how aroused she was because she hadn't had sex in a couple of weeks. Again, this is a conversation with her 15-year-old stepson. In the interview that the stepson then gave to police, he said he was sitting close on the couch with his stepmom and he was playing with her hair. Now, apparently, Van Yates making these kind of statements didn't come out of the blue. The teen told investigators that his stepmom had been making sexual comments for roughly a week. He said he went to the gym with Van Yates, and when they got into the car after, she said, quote, "I bet everyone thought you were my little boy toy." In another instance, Yates was eating whipped cream and she stuck out her tongue in a way that the victim found sexual, and he likened it to what you see in a pornography film. And Van Yates then reportedly said, quote, "Oh, you like that." Then there was reportedly an instance where he was on a golf cart with Van Yates and two of her friends, and he also said that this 15-year-old, he was given a shot and also another hit of a THC pen. The teen said that he did make some sort of sexual joke, and then Van Yates said to her friends, quote, "He probably watches those stepmom pornos." Now, on the night where Van Yates had sex with this teenager, the police report states that after Van Yates had talked about how aroused she was, the teen asked if they wanted to cuddle. The police report states that the teen told them that Van Yates at first said that would be, quote, "weird." But then when the teen laid on top of Van Yates, she said something to the effect of, quote, "Oh, you're just going right for it, huh?" Now, police then say, as the teen kissed Van Yates on her neck, she escalated the situation by saying, "Ah, man, I wish you were 18 because you're not old enough." Police say the child victim then gave Van Yates oral sex. The police report goes on to say that Van Yates told the teen to stop, but then would pull him back in to continue. Van Yates then gave the 15-year-old oral sex and said something to the effect of it was the least she could do. Now, as this was going on, the door opened to the home and in walks
Hello, everybody. I am very sorry, but this case is so shocking. Of course, as usual, I welcome you all in to join, but I must say this is horrifying. This is tragic. I should have said this before. Kind of a trigger warning for people who, have experienced abuse, sexual abuse in any way, shape, or form. I'm very sorry for that experience. My heart goes to everyone. And now we have a unfortunate case that, even though it is painful and it's bad, and I really, really, really hope that this woman is going to get the punishment she deserves, not only by the, justice system, but also social punishment. Like, she needs to be excluded from any kind of get together, family surrounding, any involvement with young people, children, teenager. She, to me, is a dangerous person, right? This person does not deserve respect, to my opinion, because if you can harm a child in such a manner, you do not deserve respect. So, we're going to listen in and we are hopefully going to find something to learn, because I've already heard so many things. Even if I don't have children yet, I think I'm already taking notes, and I think people need to take notes. This is not to generalize and put every step parent in the same box, right? There are really, really, really good parents out there and step parents out there. But sometimes we also have to deal with people like her. And where this message is going to, this has nothing to do only in the case of step parents. This has to do with everyone. The moment your children are with people, even if you think you know them, you trust them, please, please, please always keep an open eye to every situation. Please make sure that you have a great relationship with your children so they can be open and free to communicate to you whatever is happening in their life. Please teach your children boundaries early on. Even if this is your cousin, even if the stepdad or stepmom, even if this is your sibling, it can be grandpa, it can be anyone, it can be your teacher. We also are going to soon talk about a case involving a teacher who's behaving in such a disgusting manner, who is harming children. It can be anyone. We need to teach our younger ones boundaries and communicate to them that it's not about them doing something wrong, right? Because we're talking about an adult versus a child, an adult versus a teenager. At this point, I need everyone to be aware that it has nothing to do with the child. The shame and the blame goes solely to the adult. People need to be more mindful. And now look at this situation, painful, shocking, and disgusting as it is. I have to say that we are still very much lucky that she got caught in the act. That's why the situation is not going any further. Imagine if the dad did not come in and see what is going on. This is something that would be kept in the dark. She would be using not only a power to abuse him, right? Keeping the secret, telling him things to manipulate his mind. This would have taken even longer, or perhaps would have never come out, right? So it's very, very important for people to be, please, 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 mindful. Talk to your children, teach them boundaries, be involved. Don't just push them to whatever stepdad, cousin, go here, go there. Let me tell you, today I was scrolling and I still need to check on the story, but I don't believe anyone is going to put out something like that just for whatever reason to get attention, because this is very bad. So a father sent his daughter for, playtime, visiting, whatever the case may be, to his own brother's house. The little girl came back home bleeding between her legs. And you guys know already what was going through that father's mind. Now, allegedly in the story, no footage, just the story, He immediately drove back to his brother's house and retaliated in a way that we cannot say out loud. He took his life. He dismembered this man. I'm not going to say anything more to this, but you get what I'm saying. That was his brother. If you know you're surrounded or you know people who have whatever kind of issues, addictions, weird past, don't push your kids to them. Like, I don't know. My heart goes out to everyone who's unfortunately been taken advantage by people you thought you could trust and also by strangers. No one deserves this.
That 15-year-old's dad, who was Alexis Von Yates' husband. He was a lineman. He worked late nights and he had come home. And at that point, the police report says that Von Yates and the boy were in the middle of having sex on the couch, which was directly.
Like the audacity. Tell me, if anyone sees this woman out in public, knowing her profession, would you ever think to yourself that she is capable of such? This is not some random kid, first of all. I think it's wrong anyhow, but just follow this. That I'm trying to describe this woman's persona, her personality, her mindset. Think about it. This is not some random kid. This is the child of the man that you chose to be with for life. This boy probably looks up to you, calls you mom, or treats you like you're his mom, trusts you like you're his mom. This happened not at some random place. This did not happen in the, I don't even know how I could come up with this. Is there's no weird effect moment? Oh, it just no. This was a choice. This was planned out. This was led by her to the point that she has no shame or respect, not only of herself, definitely not for this boy, and lastly, especially not for her husband. To do this in the house, in a place where this young boy should find peace, love, joy, and protection. That's where you did this. Think about this for a moment. She's not hiding it. How sick of a person do you need to be to do such disgusting harm to a child, your husband's child, in the house where you all three, not just but where you all three live in? Because she thinks she controls the situation, because she's been controlling the situation. She feels very much comfortable in what she's doing and she does not see any wrong in what she's doing. That is why she chose to do this at home, where her husband could walk in at any minute, where the boy could shout for help at any point. She did not care.
Near the front door. Now, when the boy's dad walked in, he says he saw the 15-year-old run to the bathroom and Von Yates was shirtless on the couch. The teen then said in this interview, the dad.
Imagine, like, you see, I'm not promoting violence, never, ever, ever. But you see, imagine the dad would have snapped. What are we going to be saying? What would we be talking about right now? No one is going to be talking about her and her wrongdoing. If he would have snapped because of the realization of the harm that he saw you doing to his son, what would we be saying now? Oh, we'll be calling him a bad man again, right? Look at the evil in her face. I know this is going to be shocking to so many because we always almost only assume that men are the bad guys. No, women can be just as bad and disgusting, especially because they know that they don't fall into that criteria of being a criminal or predator or whatever. It's almost advantageous to them to use their power against minors or anyone. Women misuse their powers just as men do, because people can be bad and evil, and people like her and also men like her, they need to face harsher consequences. I think all these nonsense is becoming almost a trend because it doesn't seem to phase them. It seems like the consequences on cases like this is not harsh enough. Because otherwise, why do we keep hearing this? And especially lately, almost back to back, month to month.
Dad said something to the effect of, "What the expletive is going on?" He then pulled the blanket off on Yates and saw his wife naked. Now, the boy's dad then ordered the teen to pack his things and leave the house. The teen says that he also heard his dad calling Von Yates, his wife, quote, "a child predator." And this is where Von Yates makes an excuse that you will not believe.
I haven't heard her excuse. You guys are watching this with me. But I'm thinking to myself, what kind of excuse could you even come up with? How do you even see yourself speaking in that kind of situation? You know how you do wrong, just tiny things alone, right? When you're young, perhaps mom says, "Don't touch this." You went and touched it. You're busted. You don't speak. And that's a minor thing. That's something that you could laugh about. Now to stand there in front of this man and come up with some kind of excuse, explanation, or whatever she believes she's going to come up with, the fact that she's opening her stinky mouth in that situation, not falling down to her knees, apologizing, "I am sorry for what I did." No, that's not the vibe. The vibe is going to be finding a way. I'm sure she's going to find a way to blame this young boy. I bet you.
Von Yates says to the dad reportedly, quote, "The child victim looks like his father when he was younger." That's according to this police report. Von Yates also claimed that she told the teen to stop, which, based on the police report and all those details, she may have said that, but much of that statement is a lie. The next part of this story and what the teen said in his...
The reason why anyone with a bit of common sense would know that that is a lie is because this is happening at home, right? Let's assume, right? There are situations where, stepdad, stepmom, whatever, and there's a child involved, but it's not a child anymore. It's actually, let's paint a scenario. She comes into this man's life. Let's pretend the boy was already 21, 20, whatever. Old enough to be interested, like fully interested in women, old enough to make his own choices, old enough, all that good stuff. And then perhaps he's like, "I don't care if you're my stepmom. I think you're attractive. Let me try and see where I can go with this." And you don't want this. What is the best thing to do? You tell your husband, you shout, you say no loudly, clearly. You point us out the next day in the morning when we're having dinner, breakfast, whatever. That could be a situation where if she would have come up with that, people could be like, "Yeah, okay, maybe the boy was trying to hit on you. I mean, could be." But we're talking about a 14-year-old or 15-year-old or even younger, 13. We're talking about a minor. I don't even care to know exactly how old he is. We're talking about a minor, okay? Someone you need to be protecting. And now let's assume this minor kid has no idea what he's doing, no experience, is trying to get to you physically or whatever, with attentions or emotionally. And you, the adult, you don't want that, right? And this is happening at home. What do? You say no boldly, loudly. You push him away, go back into your room. You call your husband immediately. You make this a thing. You make this a topic. You bring this up, right? That's what every normal person would do. You realize your young son, your young stepson is behaving in a manner that we don't respect in this household. You address it. Like, people address things when their kids say the wrong words, when they're using slurs, cuss words, whatever. We talk about it. Adults tell younger people, you do not speak like this in this household. You do not touch this in this household. You do not behave like this in this household. Now you're telling me you told this 15-year-old boy no. Did you? And are you trying to make us believe that that is how it went? This 15-year-old who's daddy's wife, and he's going to be bold enough to do that? Come on, you invited this boy. You manipulated this boy, thinking that what you guys are doing may be right, but it's wrong. If he doesn't know, which is fine, you definitely know.
His interview lays out how his family handled this situation, and they handled it in a way a lot of people would say would be the wrong way. But then things come around later. I'll get into that. The boy and his dad left the house to drive to the boy's grandfather's house, the teen said. And on the way, the boy's dad actually stopped at a gas station. He picked up a 6-pack of beer, and the teen said his dad chugged it as they drove. The boy's dad then told him to never talk to him again. He also called the boy a, quote, failure. The boy's grandfather said, quote, you better not be telling them what happened when the boy said he was going to talk to his cousin about this. He also told the boy not to contact his mom about what happened with Alexis Von Yates. The boy told the interviewer that he was
like, definitely already something is weird in this family. What do you mean don't tell your mom? What in the world do you mean don't tell your mom? A strange woman who just came into your life, who's supposed to love and care for you to some way, is abusing you sexually. But we shouldn't tell his biological mom. Are you guys on crack? I'm sorry to say, are you guys on crack? And then the father calling this boy a failure. Yes, he made a mistake by even, he made a mistake. This is a young boy. This is someone who most likely has no experience with women at all. And now there's this woman who's supposed to protect him, doing things with him, touching him in a way, talking to him in a way. He might not know how to deal with this. Now he's the failure. He's the failure for two adults not making sure that he's protected. He's the failure for two adults, or at least one of them, putting him in a position that is long-term going to destroy his mental. Some of you guys I know already, and I don't want to see none of those stupid ass comments on my podcast per episode. I wish I was him when I was younger. Why didn't my stepmom do that to me? If I see any of these stupid comments, it's a shame that people think like that. What do you mean don't tell his mom? His mom needs to know about this woman, what she did to her little boy. And this boy is not a failure. This boy has been dragged into a situation manipulated by someone more than double his age, who knew better, who knew how to say the things she said to him, so he's going to follow along, so he's going to feel comfortable in what they're doing. The adult is the failure in this matter, not the boy. Of course, there are some mistakes on his hand. I mean, you wouldn't touch your mom, you wouldn't touch your stepmom. We get that. But to shame this little boy for something that most likely his brain cannot even comprehend, really, is stupid.
Infatuated with Von Yates, and he had never actually engaged in sexual or emotional activity before, but he also felt upset.
Let's listen to that again.
Von Yates. The boy told the interviewer that he was infatuated with Von Yates, and he had never actually engaged in sexual.
Of course he is. Look, this is not his biological mom. This is some woman who came into his life a year ago, 2 years ago. We don't know. And she's with dad. Okay? Fine. But this woman, she's not behaving like mom. She's different. She's giving him attention in a way that normal moms wouldn't do. So now think about it. This is a young boy. who's learning himself, who's right at the start of where his hormone system are starting to go wild, curiosity's kicking in, all that good stuff. And he's being groomed by someone he should actually trust. Imagine, this is not some stranger telling you, no, it's okay, what we're doing is okay. This is the person who makes you breakfast, who holds your hand, who tells you, are you fine when you're sick, all these things. How is he not going to be manipulated? We do not know. This woman might be telling him that's the way it is. That is how you grow from a boy to a man. We don't know all the things that she has planted or implanted into his young mind. Of course, he's going to be infatuated. This is like, you all know what attention does to us. Even now when we're older, we all go crazy when we get some attention, right? Look at what adult people are willing to do. Now think about what a young mind, 13 to 15, is going to do when you get some kind of attention, and then this kind of, a different kind of attention. Now even physical, an experience you don't know, you're not sure. You might be even ashamed. The experience might have even been shameful for him. That is why she even could uphold her manipulation. We don't know. But of course, he's going to be infatuated. He's going to be stunned. He's going to be easy to manipulate in such a situation. The same thing happened to young women. When the one who's far older knows everything, she has no idea. He's in his 40s or whatever, telling a 13, 14-year-old, you're the most beautiful. That's how you do it. This is what you do. This is how you, I'm going to take you here. This is just, it's about us. Like, think about it. These are young, innocent minds that we're talking about. How wouldn't you expect that that little boy is going to fall for this? Think, yeah, it's right. I mean, of course it's right. How could you not tell me what's right? Oh, she likes daddy that much. Of course she likes, like, think about it. This is a young mind, for God's sake. Who does that?
Or emotional activity before, but he also felt upset that his family, in his opinion, was trying to cover up what happened. But Von Yates wasn't done. The teen said the next morning, the boy called her after everything that had happened, even her husband walking in on this situation, according to the police report. And on the phone, Von Yates said how she wished that her husband hadn't walked in on them. And she also made more sexual comments. She even rated the experience, the teen said, a 7 out of 10. I put Alexis Von Yates' name into truthfinder.com and putting this episode together. And in the section that shows whether someone has a criminal history, you can see that her record did come up. At Law and Crime, we partner with Truthfinder, and we use it to get details on the people involved in our stories. Now, even if you don't work in true crime, though, this can be a great tool to give you some peace of mind, as it's one of the largest public record search services in.
Good point. I don't know how this works, but good point. Remember how I said people need to start being more mindful, more attentive? I don't care. This could be, oh, it's my stepmom. Oh, it's my stepdad. Oh, it's my new lover. Oh, this is my new boyfriend. Oh, this is my teacher. Oh, this is my new neighbor. Oh, this is my new babysitter. We do not care. Start using tools like this. It doesn't cost you too much. It doesn't take forever. Put that name just one time more than not doing it might save you from a situation like this. I don't know it. I'm not advertising this, but you get the gist. Use tools that are like available to you to find out things about people. Please use them. Use them. I'm sure she has a case.
For background reports, just go to truthfinder.com/OTC. Now, police say an anonymous tip was put in about this case that then brought it even more to light. And that tip, according to a witness known as Kaylee in this police report, was reportedly put in by the boy's dad. So it appears that there's a bit of a change of heart, maybe a cooling off period, after the teen said his dad allegedly tried to cover it all up. Dad said he was on the stepson's side as long as the stepson.
Wait, we need to go back on this because this information is crazy. I am so sorry to say, but this must be a fucked up family. Must be. Because if I just heard correctly, the dad was trying to cover this up. Who are you protecting? This one?
Said his dad allegedly tried to cover it all up and have it go away the night that he walked in on all of this happening. According to that witness, the boy's dad did have that change of attitude from the
Dad tried to cover it up.
after the teen said his dad allegedly tried to cover it all up and have it go away the night that he walked in on all of this happening. According to that witness, the boy's dad did have that change of attitude from the narrative that police had put out the night in question. The dad said he was on the stepson's side as long as the stepson was willing to testify. Now, police say when Von Yates was contacted, she said she did not want to speak about it unless a lawyer was present. And also, according to this police report, she thought a DCF case against her had been closed and that she was in the clear. Police say she even continued to blame the victim in this case.
What I say? What did I say? She is going to find a way to blame it on this young boy.
15-year-old boy. In April of this year, the state of Florida suspended Von Yates.
This used to be someone who used to work in healthcare, right? And you're doing such at home. I don't want to do what has been missed that did not come out during her time in whatever hospital she was working.
Licensed to practice.
I'm sorry to say, the assumption, is it that far-fetched? Let's be real. If you can do something like this at home to a child you should be taking care of, what are you doing to patients perhaps who are in a situation that they cannot even speak up? Vulnerable, weak, on medication.
Nursing, she had been a nurse since 2016. And with how detailed this police report was, you can see the case that prosecutors would have had against her in a trial. In May of this year, a court ruled that all those details I gave you, there is more in that police report that I just couldn't go into detail about because it's so graphic, but all of it was going to be admissible if this case had gone to trial. And that was a major blow to Alexis Von Yates' defense. Court records show on August 21st, so last week, Von Yates pleaded no contest to a charge of lewd and lascivious battery, and that was part of a plea deal. She originally was facing a charge of sexual battery on a minor. The Daily Mail reports that Von Yates will spend 2 years in prison, then have 2 years of community control, and then will have 10 years of sex offender probation. She will also have to complete 200 hours of community service. She will be sentenced on September 16th. Joining us now, criminal defense attorney Joe Tamburino. Thank you for being with us on Law and Crime. Tough story here. I mean, just the details of the affidavit when she was arrested, the interview that the victim gave in this case, very detailed to say the least. When you look at, now that she's taken this plea deal, if she were to go to trial, how defensible of a case was this for her?
Well, thanks for having me on, Chris. Not defensible at all. I mean, she got a very good deal in this case, and here's why. In Florida, the age of consent is 18. There are exceptions if the person is 16 or 17 and the person they have sexual relations is no more than 23 years of age. However, she was originally charged with basically what's called a first-degree sex crime, which goes up to life in prison in Florida.
For anyone out there, I'm not in the States, but I'm still giving this out for free. Anyone out there who wants to be funny and funky with kids, right? You better not. Honestly, like, let's be for real. What kind of a disgusting person must you be? And I'm telling you, that should be what is waiting on people like that for life.
And what that means is that if you age, however,
let's listen to that again, so I hope they get that.
However, she was originally charged with basically what's called a first-degree sex crime, which
she got lucky, unfortunately.
Goes up to life in prison in Florida. And what that means is that if you have sex with a family member, specifically who's underage, you can get up to life in prison. However, she was able, through her attorneys, to work out a very good deal. which means instead of facing all of that, lifetime registration, everything along those lines, she's going to get 2 years and then no more than 10 years as a sex offender registrant. So it's not a bad deal for her.
Yeah, are you surprised by how good a deal that is? Because on one hand, I could see if you're prosecutors, if you have a victim who really does not want to testify in court, wants this to go over, but then at the same time, you go through the details and that interview that the victim gave, like all those details were going to be included in this trial. It seemed like they had her in a lot of ways, and that it'd be a tough case. Like to your point, I mean, it'd be a tough case to win for a defense attorney. Why would prosecutors give such a favorable deal?
Because the victim and the
I'm gonna say it because she's a white woman. I said it.
victim's family wants it. Just because you have an excellent case as a prosecutor, and just because you think there is a 99.9%
And because the daddy is weird.
chance that you're going to get a conviction, doesn't necessarily mean that you will go to trial, because a lot depends upon the victim and the victim's family. If you have a victim that says, look, I understand you got a great case. I understand you could convict this defendant, but I don't want to go to trial. I don't want to get up on that stand. I don't want to talk about what happened to me personally. So please give the defendant a deal that they can all live with. So even though as a prosecutor you have a very strong case, you still have to factor in the victim. All states, including Florida, have victim rights statutes, meaning victim right laws. And part of that is, though the victim can't dictate what a plea bargain is.
I feel like I cannot do this anymore. Really, at the end of the day, I'm sure she's not going to get any kind of harsh sentence. She's going to be free. Actually, allegedly, the family doesn't want her to face any, prison sentence, any trials. So at the end of the day, it's all fine. I already think that this is a weird setting. It's a weird family. Already, how things have started, the comments that she has been dropping towards this young boy, the fact that the dad really didn't feel the need to push hardly against this. I am so sorry for what I'm saying, but my mind is telling me we will hear from them again, and we will hear from them in a case that is shocking, not too surprising. We will see them on different platforms. I'm not going to watch them, but you guys get the gist. This is not going to be the last time. My feeling is telling me that we will hear or see from this young woman. I will leave it at this. I don't think I can do this. It is heartbreaking. It's even more heartbreaking because the family does not realize what is going on. I think this child is not being protected because no one is going to make me believe that that was this young boy's decision not to put her to trial or face whatever harsh consequences that she could potentially get. Something weird, suspicious is happening, and I am sick and tired of it. I wish this boy all the best. I hope he recovers from this because people may not know, or he may not know, they may not know and see it now, but they have damaged this young man.